Welcome back to Surviving and Thriving, the Breaking Badass podcast. I'm your host, Bridget, and today we're diving deep into a very personal journey of mine. I guess there's no better place to start than from the beginning. So I'm going to take you through my childhood trauma, one memory at a time. It's not easy to revisit these moments, but I believe that by sharing my story, I can help others who might be going through something similar. So let's take a deep breath and begin this journey together. Well, the first thing I remember when I look back into my childhood is when my parents were still married. I was born in Denver, Colorado, and at that time we were living in Aurora. And I will never forget this small house with a cool basement and a really big backyard and a wooden deck that my parents built together. I miss that house sometimes, and I think back, boy, it seems so big to me when I was so small. And now as an adult, I can say I've gone back and seen the outside of this house, and it was so very tiny. That's something important that I hold on to when I recall this story. So I must have been close to the age of 4 or 5. My dad would work during the day, and my mom would work in the evenings. They had 3 kids. Childcare was a luxury, very expensive. And my mom would occasionally need to leave early to go and wait tables. And this was before my dad would get home from work. Sometimes she would be working all afternoon. And, well, my brothers and I, we needed a babysitter. My parents ended up retaining the services of a babysitter who ended up being a young man. Now, again, for me, I can't say for certain whether he was a teenager or a young adult, because when you're small, everyone and everything seems so big, and people older than you seem so grown up. Well, this babysitter had seemed fun in front of my parents. I remember they both spoke to him to get an idea of who he was. But what my parents didn't know was how he was when no one was around. The babysitter was really good at intimidating my brothers and I. I grew up as a middle child with an older brother and a younger brother. And, well, the babysitter would use scary movies to frighten us, so much so that we were frightened into submission. I remember he would threaten my younger brother to behave, and if he wasn't, he would put on Jason, and that movie was absolutely terrifying. To this day, I can tell you that I've never gone back and watched that movie because I remember little bits and pieces from when I was so small and how scared I was. He would scare us with these movies so much that we were scared into submission. It's a do this or this movie's going to come on and you're going to see it. So we often followed along. We were told to be good kids and to listen. And that's what we did. Now, I can't speak for my brothers or anything that they might have experienced. Those are their own experiences. In fact, now as an adult, I no longer have much of a relationship with them. And that's a different story for a different episode. But I remember this babysitter torturing us with scary movies, heavy metal. I will not listen to heavy metal still. I was so scared. And he would make it so loud. One day I remember I was so frightened that I went to the kitchen table. I made sure that I was holding on to My Little Pony because I felt cool with that. I felt almost invincible. and I ran and I hid under the kitchen table amongst the chairs, and I wanted to stay quiet and hidden so he wouldn't find us. Us, me, and my little pony, of course. And I've probably just given away my age. And well, now you all are learning more things about me. I hoped and I wished with all of my might that I'd be safe while I sit under that kitchen table amongst the chairs. Often, the thought that I had was if I hit my heels together, just like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, I would be able to transport myself to another place, another time, a better place, a safer place. I would be in that place as soon as I opened my eyes after clicking my heels. That was the key. I love this idea so much, this concept so much, that my parents ended up getting me some red jelly shoes, just like Dorothy, and I really did believe that it would work. So the babysitter at one point noticed that I was hiding underneath the kitchen table amongst the chairs, and he came and tried to coax me out. Well, his words were not working. I so vaguely remember him grabbing my arm. It wasn't forceful. He was trying to be kind at that point, and I refused. And I sat there a little bit longer, and he was lying on the kitchen chairs, on the seats of them, looking down at me as I was underneath that kitchen table. And I was just looking down at my little pony and her tail that sometimes my brothers, when they wanted to be mean, they would pull out, and I'd always have to get my parents to fix it. Suddenly, the babysitter grabbed my leg, and it wasn't with force, but it was with kindness. It was as if my little girl brain believed that he was trying to comfort me and make me feel better. Oddly, he had me stay still. He didn't try to grab me to get me out from under the kitchen table. It was kind of a secret and hidden place, you see. When he grabbed my leg, at one point or another, I remember his fingers moving upwards on my thigh, working their way towards what I was told was my private parts. And I felt terrified, confused. I don't remember how he touched me this day or those that followed, but I know that he did. I remember thinking I would be in trouble for this if I told anyone what had happened. So, like most children who experience such things, I stayed silent. My silence was something I carried with me well into my adulthood. And this key moment, I believe, taught me that my silence would keep me safe and out of trouble. That's a key theme throughout the rest of my life. Well, this was confusing for me, this whole ordeal, because I remember that it felt good, but I also knew that it was very, very wrong. How can something that made my body feel good be so wrong? It's a very complex question for a child. So many stay quiet for these reasons. So while it felt physically good, again, I knew it was wrong. This question of how could something that made my body feel good be so wrong has haunted me for so many years until I worked through healing from my childhood trauma. It's something I've spent a very long time understanding and working towards freedom and healing from this thought. I didn't rediscover this memory until it emerged during EMDR therapy. In that moment, I saw the scene unfold as if it were part of a movie, observing it from a distance rather than reliving it firsthand. This ability to view past experience with detachment is a skill that I've retained from my EMDR sessions. For the newbies, EMDR, or eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, is quite an effective therapeutic approach for reprocessing trauma. It helps individuals process and then integrate traumatic memories by using bilateral stimulation, such as guided eye movements to facilitate the brain's natural healing processes. It is creating a new neural pathway in the brain. This method allows traumatic memories to be reprocessed in a way that reduces their emotional intensity and helps individuals gain a new perspective on these experiences. Essentially, it is helping again to facilitate the brain's very own natural healing processes. So I share with you this. Through EMDR therapy, I've learned to reframe my traumatic memories, reducing the power that they held over me. And the ability to view these memories as distant scenes rather than reliving them has been particularly beneficial. The detachment allows me to reflect on my past with now increased knowledge and understanding and greater clarity. And I have less emotional distress, which ultimately aids in my overall healing and emotional well-being. If you have been a victim of sexual abuse, I'm here to tell you that you are not alone. Unfortunately, sexual abuse is a common and pervasive issue, particularly among children. Research indicates that approximately 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 13 boys in the United States experience sexual abuse during their childhood. Now, these statistics highlight the widespread nature of this problem, emphasizing the importance of awareness and support for survivors. Moreover, in the vast majority of cases, let's say, the abuser is someone the victim already knows. Studies show us that about 90% of child sexual abuse victims know their abuser. This person could be a family member, a friend, teacher, coach, or another trusted individual in the child's life. The familiarity that the child has with the abuser often complicates the trauma as it involves a significant breach of trust and can make it even more difficult for victims later to come forward, especially children, because it is only natural for them not to want anything bad to happen to the person that they've cared about. So understanding the prevalence of sexual abuse and the common relationship between victims and their abusers is crucial for fostering a supportive environment where survivors feel safe to share their experiences and seek help. Most victims of sexual abuse during childhood don't come forward and speak about it until much later in life, and that's okay. We all share it when we're ready. If you've been affected, know that there are resources and people who can offer support and assistance in your healing journey. Thank you for joining me on this episode. Thank you for providing safe space. I appreciate your time and attention as we explored this important topic. If you have any questions, need support, or would like to share your thoughts, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can contact me via email at breakingbadasscoaching@gmail.com, or find me on my website, www.breakingbadasscoaching.com. Stay safe, take care, and I am sending you all so much love and light. Till the next time.